Okay, so get this. Imagine AI just churning out thousands of research ideas, and not just like any ideas, but fresh ones, new ones, and get this, in just a few hours.
Yeah, and what's so fascinating about this is that it's not just about how many ideas they can come up with, but the actual quality of them.
Exactly. Like, can AI actually be innovative?
Yeah, that's the big question.
And the study we're looking at today really puts that to the test.
Yeah,
So this study, it was in Nature, and they had human scientists basically going head-to-head with an AI,
right.
each of them trying to come up with these unique research ideas.
Yeah, so they had 50 natural language processing researchers.
Okay.
And just so everyone is on the same page, this is a specific field of AI that focuses on enabling computers to kind of understand and then process human language.
Right.
So they had all these researchers spend 10 days just brainstorming new research ideas.
10 days. That sounds like a lot of pressure.
It does. But they did incentivize them they gave them some pretty nice financial rewards to get those creative juices flowing.
I was going to say, like, were there snacks? Was there coffee involved?
Yeah, well, I'm sure there was plenty of that, too.
Okay, good.
But, they weren't just competing against each other.
Yeah.
They were actually up against Claude 3.5.
And who is Claude 3.5 when it comes to this?
That is the AI model from Anthropic.
Okay.
So you have Team Human over here, fueled by ambition, probably, like you said, a whole lot of caffeine.
Yeah.
And on the other side, you've got Claude, this AI, ready to just churn out some ideas.
Mm-hmm. So then, how do you compare those two? How do you compare what a human brain can come up with versus an algorithm?
Well, that's where I think this study is so clever.
Yeah.
They used a blind review process. So 79 independent reviewers. They looked at all the different research ideas, but they didn't know which ones came from a human or which ones came from the AI.
Oh, wow.
So they were evaluating them just on their merit.
Interesting.
Yeah, they were looking at how novel the ideas were, how exciting, if they were actually feasible, could you actually execute on this research? And then also just the potential impact.
I like that. That's so cool. So it's like a blind taste test, but for like scientific breakthroughs.
Exactly.
I love it. Okay, so no more suspense. How did the humans do?
So get this, the AI-generated ideas, the ones that Claude came up with, were actually consistently rated as more original and more exciting by these reviewers.
Wow. So the AI came up with ideas that experts, not just anybody, experts thought were more groundbreaking than the seasoned researchers who, presumably, this is what they do.
Right. It's pretty wild.
Wow. Okay. So what was it about the AI's approach then that gave it that edge, do we know?
Well, Claude 3.5 had a pretty, I would say, unfair advantage.
Okay.
It was trained on this massive, massive data set of existing research from Semantic Scholar.
Okay.
So imagine being able to instantly analyze mountains and mountains of data and pinpoint these potential gaps or these unexplored avenues in research that maybe humans have just missed.
So it wasn't necessarily that the AI was smarter, but it just had all of that background information in a way that a human just couldn't.
Exactly.
Okay, so it just had a leg up in that way.
Be much faster.
Yeah, and then was able to pull from all that. That's incredible. The study authors gave a couple of examples of some of these ideas, right? So give us an example then. What were some of these like really out there ideas that the AI was coming up with?
So one that I thought was really interesting, it was this idea of using machine learning to kind of personalize cancer treatments.
Okay.
So basically using a patient's genetic profile and even things like their lifestyle factors.
Oh, wow.
And the reviewers thought this was really novel because it was taking these like existing fields, but combining them in a way that, people hadn't really looked at before.
So using existing research, which makes sense. It's pulling from all this data, but then putting it together in new ways.
Exactly.
That's really cool. I mean, that makes you think then, could you apply this to like all kinds of scientific fields, or is it just, because this is language?
Right. And that's, I think, what's so exciting about this. It really seems like you could apply these principles across many, many different disciplines.
Okay.
I mean, imagine an AI that's been trained on astronomical data.
Okay.
And it's just churning out all these new hypotheses about dark matter or how galaxies form.
Right.
Or what about one that's gone through like every medical study ever published?
Okay.
And it's suggesting these totally new ways to treat diseases.
Yeah, it's kind of like having, an army of these super-powered research assistants. Yeah.
That can just analyze centuries worth of knowledge in the blink of an eye and be like, hey, what about this?
Exactly. And that's really what a lot of people are calling augmented intelligence.
Okay.
Where AI isn't replacing human researchers,
Okay.
but it's working alongside them and amplifying what they can do.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah. So you've got us as the humans. We're bringing our intuition, our creativity, our understanding of the real world.
Right. Right. Nuances and stuff.
Exactly. Exactly. And then the AI brings that ability to, like you said, go through all that data and see these patterns that maybe we just wouldn't catch.
Right. I mean, it makes you wonder then about, like, what even is scientific creativity at that point?
Yeah. If an AI can come up with an idea that's judged as more novel than what a human can come up with, does that mean the AI is being creative?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Right.
I mean, there's a huge debate right now about whether you can even have creativity without consciousness,
Oh, okay.
without that understanding of the world that goes beyond just processing information.
So is the AI having original thoughts? Or is it just like a really, really good mimic?
Exactly.
Okay.
But, that being said, some researchers do believe that AI, even without that consciousness, can still be creative in the sense that it can produce these really valuable, novel outputs.
It's crazy to think about. It really is.
Yeah, it really makes you think.
But regardless, whether or not the AI is actually got its own brain going on there or whatever.
Right.
This technology could still totally change research as we know it.
Absolutely. But it's not like a perfectly clear road for AI. The study did uncover a bit of a limitation with the AI's creative process.
Mhm. Like what?
It seems like while, initially Claude 3.5 really impressed the reviewers with, how innovative its ideas were, as it went on, it's like it hit a wall.
Huh.
Yeah, the ideas became less and less original.
So it's like even AI can hit a wall, like it's got writer's block, but for an algorithm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting. It really does suggest that while AI is really good at taking what already exists and, combining that information in new ways, there might be a limit to how far it can go from the data that it was initially trained on.
Okay, so it can only work with what it knows.
Yeah, in a way. And it really makes you think about AI-driven creativity. What are the limits?
That is kind of reassuring, though, that you still need that human element in there,
Yeah.
like that human intuition to make those connections. And you know what I mean?
For sure.
To think outside the box.
Absolutely. And that brings us back to the heart of this study, right?
Yeah.
It's not about AI versus humans. It's about how can they work together?
Right.
How can they work together to really push the boundaries of what's possible in research?
Collaboration over competition. I like that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so as we kind of wrap up our deep dive here into, AI and all these scientific breakthroughs, what is the big takeaway here?
I think it really gives us a peek into a future where AI becomes a super important partner in research. It has so much potential to speed up these discoveries, find connections that we're just not seeing, and just completely open up these new avenues for exploration. But, and I think this is really important, it also highlights how vital human intuition, creativity, that ability to ask big important questions, all of that is still so important.
So don't be afraid of AI, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to come and take over all the research. It
Yeah.
can be a really, really powerful tool to help us get to where we want to be even faster, as humans.
Exactly. It's about using everything we have.
Yeah, okay. I like that. Well, on that note, I think that's a great place to end it.
Yeah.
But for everybody listening, if AI can do this now, just imagine what it'll be able to do in 5, 10, 15 years. It's pretty wild to think about.
Yeah, it really is. Imagine those breakthroughs. It might not even be a lone genius somewhere in a lab. It could be this partnership.
Yeah, it's super cool. Well, on that note, everybody keep those minds curious, and we'll see you next time.